Hello, beautiful beings. Welcome to Let's Create the Revolution Together. My name is Marigol, and I'm your host on this human journey that we're all here to experience. I've created this podcast because I wanted to show the world how vibrant and fulfilling life can actually be when we're creating our reality from alignment. Want to know how to get there? Well, you just got to stay tuned because every Wednesday we're going to meet new people that are shifting their reality to create a ripple effect of transformation. We're all here to evolve, and I think that every experience we encounter is an opportunity to grow. That's why I specialize in helping people bringing more awareness into their lives so they can actually transform their experience, small and or big, into learnings. So I say, let's create that revolution together, one experience at a time. Hello, beautiful beings. This week is going to be just me by myself with you guys. I'm so glad to be here with you. I feel like it's been so long since I've just recorded something. As some of you may know, I am in my healing process at this moment. I think we're always in some kind of healing process, but lately I had some stuff that came up in my body. Just to make a small disclaimer before I go further into this talk that I'm gonna have with you guys. I just want to remind you that I am an Ayurvedic wellness coach. I am not a doctor. I do take care of my health a lot, and I love healing and that kind of process, but I'm not like a doctor. So I just wanted to put that out there. I was trying to work with plant, and like I'm an Ayurvedic wellness coach, so I was trying to help myself with food and like supplement and like some nice routine that I could just incorporate in my life. And I've been doing that for the past 4 years, and so far nothing changed. And what fascinates me is like, no matter what I eat, no matter what I do, like no matter what I put in my body or how much I work out or how much I go outside, the symptoms seems to be always there. um and so lately, there's been so much happening. um so for as long as I can remember, I was always someone that would be more on the nervous side of the spectrum. So I would be someone that talk really fast, that moves really fast, that thinks very fast. Um, like internally, it feels like a go, go, go situation all the time. And so that can, like, that way of living can actually bring a lot of stress, even though like what I'm going through might not be really stressful, but the way that I'm going through those moments sometimes in my life, it can be stressful. So a lot of things happen, and all of you know that there were a pandemic, and probably you can imagine that I wasn't gonna buy the narrative, and that I wasn't gonna take any um, pharmaceutical in my body. So um, there was a part of me that wanted to fight that system, that wanted to fight that what what was like put out there, right? And so when you want to fight like that, that's your nervous system that is highly activated. And since I was always on the nervous side of the spectrum, it was kind of, natural to go that route. Um, but it got super exhausting at one point. And to a point where I couldn't, like, no matter how much I was sleeping, how well I was eating, I couldn't just get back on track. I was just always tired. And and I keep on circling back to the nervous system because I feel like this is the key for me in my healing journey. So um as I started this journey right now of healing my nervous system, because there's symptoms that I have right now in my body, like in my digestive system, in my bladder, my hormones. Like there's a lot of symptoms that seems to be telling me something in my that is happening in my life. And the tricky thing with the nervous system is that your mind keeps tricking you in thinking that there is a danger. And so as long as you stay in that state of there's a danger, um, that nervous system stays activated. So and when you're so used to that, it's easy to just see everything as a danger, right? And like, I mean, I laugh about it right now because, I mean, what else is there to do? When you see that system, that nervous system operating, and deeply, that you have so much power, but somehow your nervous system is just taken over all the time because you need to be shifting stuff in your mind, in your heart, in the way you interpret the world. And the funny thing that happened this week, um, which wasn't funny at the time, but looking back, it was just so appropriate, right? So there was a hurricane. And so we used to live in a place where we never seen that happen, right? That wasn't like part of uh, stuff that were happening where we used to live. But then we moved here, and we're really, really close to the Atlantic Sea. And so this week there was a hurricane. And the house that we bought isn't really solid. Well, it's solid, but it's kind of broken too, so it's a very, very old house. And so I was trying real hard not to freak out about that storm that was coming. And I was like, well, we're not, like, I was trying to convince myself, right, like, we're not that close to the sea, like, there might be some winds, but like nothing bad's gonna happen. I was kind of fooling myself. So when the storm started, I was outside, and I was like, yeah, it's not that bad. And then the electricity just was cut off. And and then I was like, well, it was to be expected. Like the the company that is providing the power here is not like as efficient. So like the minute there's like some small winds, um like the power will just like go out. So we're gonna got used to um the power being out in our house, in this street. And so we were like, we're gonna have like no power for like at least one day. And then so the power went out. It was like on the morning, it was like 5 o'clock in the morning. And so the power went off. And so we were like, okay, that's cool. Like it was expected. We were ready for that. Like we got batteries in the basement in case like there's rain and that. So we have the pump to just like pump the water out of the basement. So we have a battery for that. So we were like, all right, so we're good. Um, the next day, the power was still not back on, and they were like, so we have a generator, and so we plugged it in, and it broke. You know, that kind of situation. And so the generator broke, and so we couldn't like power the pump, and so we got flooded. Like there were like at least 4 feet of water downstairs. Like it was it was just not good. So one of our neighbor, the wind was so strong that there were like a tree that went like that just broke on the electrical wire. The line was just like down because there was a tree in the line. So that's basically what happened. And so we spent 3 days without electricity. um so we needed to feed those our 3 kids. And I mean, like we're pretty resourceful. We used to live in yurt, so like my husband built like uh a rocket fire. I don't remember. A rocket stove. And so we were cooking outside. And so we were like boiling the water to make the dishes, like it was like a camping kind of 3 days. Um, but it's always like stressful not to have the power, not to have the electricity. Like we rely on that so much. So yeah, we could cook, we could like do the dishes, but they were like, I don't know, those kind of situations. It's not the first time. Like we were here in like since last December, and in that short amount of time I think we lost the power for a few days like that, like 3 times already. And so we're gonna get used to to that. But the flooding and the water damage that it brought, um so um so yeah, so that was a pretty stressful event that lasted 3 days. And then we had to spend 2 days trying to repair stuff, um, to drain the basement, that kind of thing. It's not that big of a deal. I mean, like it happens, right? It's just like it happens. But where I want to go with that is that when your nervous system is very activated and you go through that kind of situation, even though it's only 3 days, those 3 days seems to be like a month. It's just like you feel like it's never gonna end, and that you're just gonna be stuck with no electricity and just like going back to the old ways, of cooking and doing like the laundry and all kinds of stuff like that. And I couldn't film anything, I couldn't post anything, like because we didn't have like the power. So our cell phone were like dried up, we couldn't like charge them, there were like no electricity around. And so the last day we decided to go, to just leave this place and to just like go into town. There's like a city that is like an hour and a half away. And so we were like, fuck it, we're just gonna go and drive and have fun for a little bit, like just take the hedge off. And so we just went and walked into that city. And that was our way, I guess, to snap out of it, to just like move out of that sympathetic nervous system where you're like always on alert, And when we got to that city, it was just like so relaxing, even though there were like people all around, and cars and noises and like all kinds of stuff that we're not used to here, because we're living more in a little small town. It was just great, and it made us realize that we don't we don't really connect to the place that we're here. um and we want to stay in this province, because the reason why we were here in the beginning was because the educational system here is very, very permissive for the unschooler, which we are. And so yeah, so we just wanted to we want to stay here, but not in this town. And that situation right there just made us realize that it wasn't like, we're grateful to have this house because it helped us get out of the prior province we were in which it was so hard to be like just parents, the way we wanted to be, because the government was like putting their nose in our business, and that didn't feel aligned. And so we're super grateful to be here right now and to have that freedom back, to be the parents that we need to be for our kids. And so that's a great achievement that we did. And at the moment that we needed to move, we didn't have like a lot of money, and so we just bought the first thing that we could actually afford. And that's also the nervous system that wants to just like, that is like in survival mode, right? And you need to get out of there because it's so awful that, and you're so stressful, and there's so many dangers, and your mind keeps telling you that you're in danger. And so, since our minds, and I'm including my husband and my kids in that, because we were all creating that together, like the stress level of having the government in our business, in our home, to tell us that we're not raising our kids right, like it was so freaking stressful. And we're creating those situations because we're stressed from the start, like because we're operating from our sympathetic nervous system. And so we're creating those situations. And so by realizing that, it was like we just made the decision that we're gonna just flip that script of like being like in need to just move, because you got like those three response when you're in that sympathetic nervous system. So whether you fight, you flight, or you freeze, it's just a sign that you're in that system. And so for us, moving of that prior province was us being in so much stress that we needed to flight, because we were so freaking tired of fighting. And so instead of just like shifting from that nervous system to another, we decided to just like change the strategy. And so we went from fighting the government to flying somewhere else. And so right now, what is super important for us to do is to not stay in that state of mind, because if we want to just fly again and just like move from this place because it's so awful and there are so many danger, because this house is like, it's awful, like it's the worst house I've lived in. Like it's like the ceiling, like it's the rain is coming in, the windows are all broken, like we're not safe in here. And we chose that because we were operating from that nervous system, that sympathetic nervous system. And so for in my mind right now, with the work that I'm doing in my healing process, like the work that I need to do, that I choose to do, that I get to do, is to have so much gratitude for this house, because this house, even though it's broken and it might be stressful, it's also the thing that helped us. It helped us to bring more freedom into the way we educate our kids. Like, it's we don't have to fight for it anymore. We don't have to spend hours on the phone with the government explaining why we're doing this or we're doing that, or um we can just like let them be free as we intended to from the beginning, right? So we're grateful. And like right now, the step is to shift our nervous system from that sympathetic one to the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the one where you rest and digest. And it's like in Ayurveda, there's so much related to the digestive system. And I was highly focused on that for the past 4 years, trying to heal myself, because it's like we're the way we're intaking stuff, and what we intake, and that is affecting us, that is affecting our energy, that is affecting our elimination, that is affecting our blood, that is affecting our mind. And even though you eat the best thing, if you're in that sympathetic nervous system, that where you need to fight, you need to flight, or you're just like frozen, um, your digestive system will just not operate. That's not the main focus. The focus is to just like shoot hormones of like adrenaline, cortisol, just like to shoot those hormones for you to get yourself out of that danger. But since it's always there, the hormones are always like fired up, And so you're like caught in a circle that just like you just need to step out of that hamster wheel of like, like being stressed, seeing danger everywhere, having the hormones, like the body responding to that, and over and over and over again. And then you're just like caught in that circle of like, because you're operating from those hormones that makes you see that there is like danger. And then since there's danger, then like the brain will like just shoot more hormones, and then you're just caught into that cycle. Or at least that's what I understand from that. And so that's the part of the part of my healing journey that I've encountered this week. And I'm very committed um to healing that. And the way that I'm doing that right now is that so I stopped waking up with an alarm. um I meditate more, and i'm I'm just like in I'm catching my mind going like on a stress um tangent. When it goes out on stress, like my role right now is to just like catch that thing and bring it back right now, like to the reality, to what is actually going on. So that's my steps for this week, in that week in my healing process. So far, my sleep is better, my digestion is better, um my relationship are better, even though we had this hurricane and that there were like so much stress. I feel like the way I handled that was way better than if it had happened I don't know, like a month ago. So that's good news. Um, yeah. All right. So so yeah, so this is it. This is the podcast for this week. I wanted to share that with you guys. If you resonate with um dealing with some nervous system issue as well, I'm very interested. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can leave a comment. If you're like listening to this on Spotify or Apple Podcast, please come in the group, the Facebook group that is called Let's Create the Revolution Together, and let's start that conversation right there. Um, I think I think our world is and can be very stressful, and I think our world is pretty stressful, and there's ways to help us to calm down, to just like get back to the heart space, and to to move into something else. I just want to circle back to the title of this podcast, which is like to create the revolution. um, and to create something, we actually need to be in the parasympathetic nervous system. We cannot create from fight or flight or freeze. Like, this is not a creative space. This is like a survival space, and it's pretty hard to tap into our genius and our creativity when we're in that state. And so yeah, so if you're struggling with some nervous system issue, please share. I mean, like, I'm pretty sure I'm not alone dealing with some kind of issue like that. And it's always great, to connect together, to help each other, and to create community around like that kind of things. If we want to create that revolution, there are some things we need to address first, and these are things that we need to address. Our nervous system, I think we need to address. And I want to say too that next week I'm going to publish an amazing podcast that I did with my friend Velia Hernandez. And it's all about the nervous system, and it was just amazing. It was so amazing. I've learned so much from her. And I'm so excited to share that with you guys. I think you're gonna love it. It was like there was like so many breakthrough and insights that came from that interview that we did together. And it was very fun because she had like a lot of knowledge, and I had like a lot of experience, and we just put those two together, and it's just like it was genius. So I'm pretty excited to share that with you. So it's going to be next week, next Wednesday. And yeah, so go ahead, drop in the comments, come into the group. And if you want to support this podcast, whether you watch it on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or other platform, please go ahead and rate this podcast. It's quite easy. On Spotify, it's with stars, and on Apple Podcast, you actually leave a review. Um, and that is helping the podcast to just like reach a wider audience, and so that we can create that revolution even bigger. So I'm going to leave you with that. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Thank you so much for all the support you guys gave me since I came out with my healing process. It's been so helpful. You don't even imagine how blessed I feel to have you guys around and to feel that support from you. It's amazing. Thank you so much. And I'll see you next week.